Hello, I'm Carl Ratner. I'm a professor of voice at Western Michigan University. And I'd like to talk to you today about Russian soft consonants or palatalized consonants. If you're learning a song from IPA, then what you'll see is regular consonants like B, P, T, etc., and it'll have a little comma underneath it, which means that the consonant is to be pronounced in a palatalized way. And what this means is that the tongue will be up close to the roof of the mouth when the consonant is pronounced. Now, in the old days, they used to transcribe these consonants by simply putting a Y after the consonant. So you might see FYU or something like that. The problem with that is that when we say that, we start with our regular consonant, and then we just flop our tongue to make the Y sound, the ya, ya. And if you were to put your finger in your mouth, you would feel your tongue sort of doing a wave as you say few. The word few begins for us with pretty much a regular F, and then as it gets close to the Y, the F gets softer and softer or more palatalized as the tongue comes up. Few. And then the tongue is sort of wagging after the consonant. In Russian, the Y sound happens simultaneously with the consonant. In other words, the tongue is already up for the pronunciation of the consonant, not coming after. And sometimes you get the sound of a glide, but it results from simply releasing the main articulation of the consonant, and then that palatalization is still in place. So let's think about a consonant like N, because it should be fairly easy to see. A regular N followed by a vowel in English, the tip of the tongue goes up towards the roof of the mouth like na. You can see that the tip of my tongue is rising, the back of it is lower. Na. For a palatalized N, the tip of the tongue stays behind the lower teeth, and the middle of the tongue goes up, like nya. Na versus nya. Na, nya. You should see that. Now, in fact, you've probably, or I know you have, sung a palatalized N many times because, for instance, if you've sung an Agnus Dei in Latin, or the GN sound in Italian, or the N in the Spanish Señor, you've done a palatalized N, so it's a good one to start with. Other people think of if they were to go nya, 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 to make that sort of kiddie sound. The tongue is behind the teeth, the tip of the tongue, and it's the middle of the tongue doing the work. So look again. Here's a regular N, na, and a palatalized N, nya. So that would be an N with a comma in it, or an N with a little tilde over it. Another sound that's easy to hear the difference is with the L's, because a hard L, which is written as a capital L in IPA, uses the tip of the tongue, la. It's very dark. We sometimes say a dark L like that, like if you say she's ill. We do a big diphthong with our vowel as we go through this very hard sounding L, ill. Well, it's that L that they use, la. In fact, it's good to even move your tongue all the way out between your teeth, la, la. I actually sometimes touch my tongue to my upper lip, la, because it gives me a very dark sound. Russians don't necessarily do that, but it will help you really articulate the sound, la. Now, a soft L, though, once again, the tip of the tongue is behind the lower teeth, la, la versus la. You should be able to see and hear the difference. La, 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 la. Again, you've probably had a GL in Italian, aglio, or in the article GLI, where you've made that sound. And in some dialects of Spanish, it's used also. So that's a palatalized L. Let's do some other ones that involve the tongue because they're a little easier to see. Let's try the letter T. T and D are a little different, but again, the regular T and D use the tip of the tongue, ta, ta, Whereas the palatalized version, the tip of the tongue's behind the lower teeth, ta, ta, and it's made with the middle of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Now, what happens is, ta, is that sound becomes a little bit wetter. It almost has a little bit of cha or something in it, but not enough. I mean, there is a separate Russian letter cha, cha, so you can't make it that ambiguous. But ta has a wet quality to it. The same thing is true with D. So the hard D is what you would expect, the tip of the tongue, da, da. But for the palatalized version, the middle of the tongue comes up. Da, da, da. And there's almost a little z sound in there. Da, da. Let's go through some other tongue consonants. S, s, a regular S with the tip of the tongue. S is the bright S, made with more of the middle of the tongue. Notice that the soft consonants have a slightly brighter sound. In English, our consonants are hard or soft depending on what vowel follows. So for instance, if you say the word cool, if you whisper cool, cool, versus key, key, you can hear that the K is much brighter in the word key than it is in the word cool, because of the position of the tongue. In Russian, you can have a soft consonant before a dark vowel, or a hard consonant before a bright vowel, and that's what makes the difference. So, s, s, z, the letter Z, 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 z. You see, I'm also kind of brightening a little to help me articulate. That's not necessarily a required part of the consonant, but it helps make your sound clearer. Now comes the hardest one, the ones that my Russian friends tell me I've never quite mastered, and that's the R. So a regular R in Russian is made like a normal Italian R. Ra, you trill it with the tip of the tongue, ra. But the palatalized one, once again, the tip of the tongue's behind the lower teeth. Ri, rye, rya, rya, rya. I mean, you have to use the tip of the tongue somewhat, but the the tongue is high up against the palate. Rya, rya, versus ra, ra, rya, ra, rya. But it should happen so fast that the Y part of the sound is happening at the same time as the consonant. So you'll have to listen to a Russian pronounce a palatalized R to really get it. Now let's talk about the ones that are formulated with the lips. Like ba is a regular B, as you know it. So you would make that with the tongue low in the mouth, as you always do. Ba, ba. But for a palatalized B, a B with a comma, the tongue is high. It starts high. Ba, ba, da, ba, da. Now I'm intentionally exaggerating a little bit, and you'll notice there's a tiny bit of a glide, but hopefully the glide is made with the lips when they explode rather than the tongue wobbling. Da, ba, da. And in fact, when they start to make a soft consonant, the tongue moves as the lips are moving into position. So, and that actually makes the preceding vowel a little bit brighter than it might normally be. So for instance, the word for the Volga River, Volga, Volga with a big dark L. When you say the name, we say Olga, which isn't correct, because the L is palatalized, the O starts to modify as the tongue moves up. Olga, Olga. You can almost hear it. Almost sounds like Olga, but don't go that far, please. But the point is, the vowel before might modify, or you might hear native Russians slightly modify the vowel before as their tongue is going up. That's just, they're telling you that their tongue is rising before the consonant instead of waiting till it's over. Any rate, so P, pa, ta, ba, da. That's a B. Now, one way that I articulate these to make them even clearer is by when I make a regular P or B, I use kind of the front of the lips to make a sort of like a timpani b b, a very bouncy kind of sound. P b p b. When I make a soft P or B and the tongue is up in my mouth, I also kind of purse my lips a little bit. So ba versus da. That's a soft B. Da. The tongue is high, and I purse my lips just a little bit. It just helps me articulate it a little more. If you look at videos of Russian speakers and singers, you won't see them doing that. But to me, it makes the sound a little clearer. Same thing with F. Fa, that's a regular one. A palatalized one. Tha. Fa versus tha. Now, you can't sit around moving your tongue around before you say every letter. You have to get used to lifting your tongue as you're headed for one of those commas. Again, with F, with a hard F, I say it in the usual way. My upper teeth, lower lip, fa. For a palatalized one, I purse my lips just a little bit. Tha, tha. I think it articulates it better. I'm speaking to you as a singer, not as the Russian that I am not. Same thing with the letter V, the regular V, va, tongue is low in the mouth. For the soft V, the, fa, or sorry, va, the. And again, I might purse my lips just a little bit. Fa, or va, the. It helps me get my tongue in place. And lastly, ma, 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 ma. So my tongue is up, but I'm also pursing my lips just a little bit on the soft consonants. The other thing you need to know is that the esh, which is the sh sound, sh, in Russian it's very hard, very dark sounding. Sh, sh. So it's good to purse your lips a lot on that, even though it's the hard sound, sh, but it helps give it a dark vowel sound. J, same thing with j. Whereas the double esh, which is always a bright sound, sh, sh. I got laughed at for saying she instead of the name of the soup, which is kind of she. It's very bright. You can even smile a little for that sound. And that leaves the back consonants, K, G, and X. Ka. Now, in that case, these consonants are going to be made more forward when they're palatalized. Because with the high tongue, the tongue will hit the roof of the mouth in more towards the middle rather than the back of the mouth. So the normal K, the tongue is rising in the back. Ka, ka. But the palatalized one, kya. For G, ga, kya. And then the X sound, ha. The X is like the Achlaut in German, but it's a bit softer. They don't exaggerate as much as you do in German diction. Ha, ha. But the soft one is closer to the Ich laut. Hi, hya, hya, ha, hya, ha, hya. It's just a bit more gentle. Both of those are more gentle than in Russian. So that is a basic introduction to the hard and soft sounds. In general terms, the hard consonants will be formed with the tongue low in the mouth, behind, just flat on the base of the mouth, like you normally do it. The soft consonants, the tongue is high, curved upwards in the middle, so the tongue is reaching towards the palate, and the consonants are brighter. I hope this helps. Of course, when you're preparing, you should listen to a native Russian speaker speaking these, and that's where you find out how it really sounds. But I'm just trying to tell you what muscles are involved to help you get to know these consonants. Hope that's helpful. Bye.